So the theme for today's Thriller Thursday is what the books. A great example of a what the book is Gone Girl, where famously halfway through the book, you get the shock of a lifetime. These are books that you'll want to stay up until 2 a.m. so that you can finish reading. You want to find out what happens. You can't stop. These are also great books to have on an airplane with you if you're sort of stuck and you can't go anywhere and you just want to escape into a book. They're also great for the beach, for instance, if you just want to kick back and not think too hard and just go on this journey that someone else takes you on. So the first book I want to tell you about is The Chain by Adrian Mckinsey. The news just came out that this will be made into a movie, and I found that really exciting because this will be an awesome movie. It's very cinematic as you're reading it. So this is about a woman named Kate O'Neill, and she's driving home one evening and she gets a phone call from another woman. And the woman tells her that she has just kidnapped her child and that in order to get her child back, she's going to have to pay a ransom, but she's also going to have to kidnap someone else's child and then go forward with the same actions. She's going to have to ask that family for a ransom, and then she's going to have to tell that family that they have to keep the chain going by kidnapping another child. So she's told that she's now part of the chain, and that the chain has been going on and has super high and powerful connections, and that if she tries to call the police or break the chain, so to speak, then everyone will die and chaos will ensue. And so, of course, Katie O'Neill, she is tough, and so she's really mad. She thinks about calling the police. She's freaking out, of course, as you would. But she ultimately decides that she's going to comply because what she keeps coming back to again and again is that she has to get her daughter back. She has to get her daughter back. Nothing else matters. I need my daughter back. And so she ends up reaching out to her brother-in-law. He's actually her ex-brother-in-law because she's divorced. And he had worked in the military. He had been involved in some secret ops in the military. And so she reaches out to him because she knows that he'll have some insight into how they should go about this. And you get some background on Katie and her life, on the brother-in-law's life. You get his perspective sometimes. And then you also get insight into the people who are behind the chain. But the way that information unfolds is really interesting and unexpected. So this book is really well written. I really liked the way the author didn't mince words. He just has a very straightforward style. It's not flowery at all. It's unsentimental. It's very straightforward thriller mystery. What's going to happen next? So much fun. When you're done reading it, you're going to want to give it to somebody so that you can talk about it too. And then the question is always, what would you do if this happened to you? So that's The Chain by Adrian Mckinsey. The next book I want to tell you about is Verity by Colleen Hoover. So this book is unlike anything I've ever read, and trust me, I've read a lot of books. This book actually has a Facebook support group for people who have finished the book and just have to discuss it immediately and struggle with what to read next because it's such an unforgettable, crazy story that they don't quite know what to do next. Quick trigger warning for this book, there is some harm against children. If you are the kind of person who doesn't like to read stories where children get hurt or get injured or die, definitely skip this one. A lot of thrillers have disturbing elements. This book's pretty disturbing, and so I just wanted to give you that warning ahead of time. So this is a story about a struggling writer named Lowen, and she gets hired to complete the unfinished manuscripts of a well-known writer named Verity. So Verity is not actually dead. She's been in an accident and she is comatose. And so her husband hires Lowen to come in and gives her free range of Verity's office and actually invites her to stay in a guest room in the home where he still lives with Verity and their children and a nurse who takes care of Verity. And he lets her basically have free reign of Verity's office, tells her to go ahead and explore, figure out what she needs, look at Verity's notes, just do whatever she needs to finish the book. So Lowen finds a manuscript in the office and she starts reading it, and it seems to be about her life with her husband, the same man who's sharing the home with her now. And it is the craziest story. It's also very sexy. There's lots of steamy scenes in it. And if any one of you have ever read a book by Colleen Hoover before, she writes romance novels. And as you're reading Verity, you'll notice that she's definitely got those romance writer elements, steamy scenes. So she feels a little bit weird. Lowen's like reading these steamy scenes with Verity and her husband, who's like in the next room. And then she starts reading more and more disturbing things in the manuscript. And she finds herself in a position where she has to decide if she thinks the manuscript is true or if it's fiction, like the other things that Verity has written. And I don't want to tell you too much more about what happens, but seriously, 40 pages in, you'll be like, I'm addicted and I must know what happens. Lots of fun. Great for a book club, if your book club is okay with disturbing books. Like I said, it's super disturbing, but completely unputdownable. That's Verity by Colleen Hoover. The last book I want to tell you about is Behind Closed Doors by B.A. Paris. This book made me so angry because it has some of the craziest scenarios I've ever read in a book, and I listened to it on audio. It was actually really well done on audiobook, and I used to listen to it on my commute to work, and I spent a lot of time yelling at the car stereo because I couldn't believe what I was hearing. And at the end of the book, I had a lot of mixed emotions about the characters. It made me so angry at some of the characters, but on the other hand, I was completely gripped while reading it. And that's a successful book, right? So I'll leave the answer up to you, but just be ready to have a lot of feelings and maybe a lot of rage when you read this book. So this is about a couple named Jack and Grace. They appear to be perfect in every way, really good looking, perfect house, wealth, but why is it that they're never apart? And are those bars on the window of Grace's bedroom that I see? What is really happening behind the closed doors in this house? I'm not going to tell you anything else about the plot of this book. You have to read it to find out. But I do feel like the plotting of this book is essential. The way details unfold and your feelings change throughout the trajectory of the story. So just know that it's a real gripping, page-turning thriller, and it's also really great on audiobook, and be prepared to have all the feelings. That's Behind Closed Doors by B.A. Paris.